Assalamu alaikum. May Allah reward you. I mean, I think like, and I'm pulling from some other conversations that we had leading up to this, and as I listen to your speech today, I think sometimes that when we think about unity, right, we've been fed so much bull crap for so long that when we think about unity, we don't even know what we're thinking about. We don't even know what we're talking about when we say unity, right? So, because we the Muslims, and anything that the Muslim does, we're supposed to do with excellence. So when we say that we're unified, in the sense of coming together and merging together, we should merge together with excellence. With excellence. So what does this mean? That means that if I'm going to come together with somebody, then I need to be all in. I need to be all in. And that brother's life, his life needs to become a part of my life. His family is now my family. His bills are my bills. Right? Because I call you my brother. I say, yeah, yo, man, we need to come together and I need your help at building something. I want to build something with you. I want your help to help me build something for the community. But that brother need help taking his own family. So my thing is, if we don't come together and have unity, like practical unity, right? Like, yo, man, is your bills paid today? Right? This month, is your family good? You know? Right? Does your wife have all that she needs? Does your children have all that they need? And you know what? Look, at the house, man, we got a little bit extra. We don't have much. We don't have much, but the Prophet said, he said that if it's enough for one, then it's enough for two. And if it's enough for two, then it's enough for four. So who's overeating? Who's overeating? Somebody's overeating because there are people starving. So inshallah, everything you say, I really felt it in my heart, man. Really. And so I ask Allah to reward our brother, and I ask Allah to put it in us to really unify, but to be all in. To be all in with your brother. The one who worships the one that you worship. Because like the brother said, you know how many people don't worship nothing? Even people that say, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, they say that with their tongue, but in reality, their hearts, they don't worship nothing. They worship themselves. The money, the clothes, and the good time. That good time that everybody likes to have. And so when Shaitan, right, when he takes that good time and you just spend all your money having that good time, you ain't got no money to share with your brother. So when I say be all in with yourself and your family first. And inshallah, then we can leave our house and come together and do something. And next up we have, inshallah, speaking about family matters is Idris Hamidullah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I'm gonna ask this question, and don't come up if you don't want to. But if there's any young people, just fill the seats in the front, please, inshallah. Please, any young people can fill the seats in the front, inshallah. Don, that's what the program is for. So. Are you guys young too? Come on, y'all, come on. Secondly, I laughed a little bit when I came up here because this minbar always seemed so big when I was a kid. Mashallah, it probably was far bigger, mashallah, than it is now, especially standing here, subhanAllah. I'm not a big person like Mike, so alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. I just want to, recognize my elders first, mashallah. So we cover all the bases, inshallah ta'ala. Mike talked about having a role model growing up that was, that was going to be positive for you and have a positive impact on your life. Alhamdulillah, of course I had older siblings and parents, mashallah. But one person that, definitely has to be recognized as I stand here on this podium is Imam Qaid rahimahullah. Allah have mercy on him and his family, inshallah. It's sort of difficult to explain how much it means to stand here and speak on the podium that he spoke on for so many years, trying to address the exact same things that we're coming together for right now, to address community concerns, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. So Ibn Ali asked me to speak about the topic and the concern of the relationship between parents and children. Some of us are parents already, but all of us are children, mashallah. So I don't really have a whole bunch to say about myself, just to speak about myself briefly, because Ibn Ali, when he called me, he started telling me about, a lot of stuff. If you know Ibn Ali, he talks very fast and he says a lot. Alhamdulillah. So he started telling me a lot of stuff about what the program was about and who was going to speak and the various backgrounds and perspectives that all the speakers have. And he was saying, we were toting these and, carrying these things in the streets and blah, blah, blah. And I said, Ibn Ali, I never did that, right? So I don't, so my first question was really, what can I really contribute to the conversation? Alhamdulillah. But he assured me that, there's still something for everybody to contribute to the conversation. So I'm going to speak about, parent-child relations. And he said that this was most fitting for me because I'm the 7th of 8 children who were raised practicing Islam, alhamdulillah, in the area from Pleasantville, mashallah. And I had great examples, exceptional examples in my parents, alhamdulillah. If anyone knows my family, the Hamidullahs, may Allah have mercy on us and everyone else as well, alhamdulillah. But just to recognize, where I come from, alhamdulillah, before I start speaking, I didn't carry any guns, mashallah. I can start to talk about the things I haven't done, mashallah. But I want to be able to relate something that we all can benefit from, inshallah. Also, it may say on the flyer, the organization that I'm speaking from, I'm from Islamic Outreach of Atlantic County, which is a small organization based in Pleasantville, really just family and friends, alhamdulillah. And if you see on Facebook, we do a lot of small reminders, just really an ayat of Quran or a quote of a hadith or anything like that may benefit someone. We try to do that now, mashallah. And the other organization is Neighborly Needs, which really touches on the concept of unity and coming together to benefit the community. It's a non-religious, non-profit organization that really mainly operates in Pleasantville right now, alhamdulillah, just distributing food every week to the community, people who need it, mashallah. And it's not just people from Pleasantville that eat and come get the food, it's people from Atlantic City, etc. Alhamdulillah. So, from my perspective, in terms of parents and children, there's really one major thing that has already been spoken on that we can contribute to one another. And I want to make that clear. It's not, when we're talking about this particular thing, we're not talking about just parents giving children this. Alhamdulillah. Because there are a lot of youth here, mashallah, which is the point of this. It's something that you can give your parents as well. And Islam is perhaps that greatest gift that we can share between ourselves as parents and children. And it's not just parents and children, but it's from the Muslim community to the broader community. This is the greatest thing that we can share with each other. It's the greatest thing that we can share with our families and in the broader community at large. So from my own perspective, just 3 areas that maybe I can speak about from growing up that I realize in retrospect now was instilled in me. Were 3 things I'm going to, I don't want to use the word pig, but I'm sort of piggyback off of a hadith, alhamdulillah. So 3 things that were mainly instilled in me growing up were that my parents taught me Iman. They taught us Iman, to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They instilled Islamic morals and values in us. And they demonstrated and they expected ihsan from us. They demonstrated and expected excellence in Islam from us. Spiritual excellence and right conduct, etc., etc. So in terms of teaching Iman, you might wonder, how do you teach someone to believe in Allah? I'm not talking about textually, reading books. You grow up and someone's teaching you to recite or read something from a book. That's not what I'm speaking about. What I'm speaking about in teaching someone Iman is, for instance, growing up, when it came around the time of Eid, when it came the time for gifts and all that sort of stuff, the Ramadan was ending, etc., etc., we would start asking our parents, I want this new watch, I want this yo-yo, etc. I'm not a girl, so I can't really remember what the girls wanted growing up. But when we're kids, every time the Eid comes around, we know it's coming. We start asking our parents for gifts, and this is what we want after Ramadan is over. This is what we want for Eid. I want to wear that new watch to the Eid Salat, etc., etc. But what our parents would tell us is, ask Allah for it. Instead of, oh, I'll get it for you, I'll get it for you, I'll get it for you. Don't worry about it, I'll get it for you. Our parents told us, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for it. Don't just throw it at your children. Make them remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first. Say, remember Allah. Ask Allah for it first. And that's a little key for all of you, that are still asking your parents for e-gifts, is to definitely ask Allah first. If you put Allah first, your parents can't say no. Inshallah. And also, I'm going to use as a segue into the next part about instilling Islamic morals and prayer and things like that, where every time after we would pray, and of course, alhamdulillah, we would try to establish the prayer as a family. Every time after we would pray, we would have very short, informal reminders about what it means to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not necessarily word for word, Qul huwa Allahu ahad, like Allah is one. Not necessarily that. But just things that youth can understand about who Allah is to them and who Allah is to adults as well. So we would have these informal reminders after the salah most often. Maybe at the end of a day we were coming home from the park or something, anything like that, and we would just be told things like, Allah is not a man, right? Allah is not a woman, right? Alhamdulillah. These are the things that, even now I'm 23 years old, alhamdulillah, I'm not that old, mashallah. But I still remember those things. It's hard to forget. So what do you want your children to remember? What do you want your children to remember about what you used to say to them? Also, from the perspective of my mother, like I said, I'm one of 8 children, so I'm sure you know my father was working a lot, alhamdulillah. So, being that my father was working quite a bit, may Allah have mercy on him and bless him, inshallah, my mother would be there to lead the salat for me and my brother when we were too young. She would, of course, be behind us, mashallah. But as we reached the age of, being able to do it ourselves, or approaching the ability to do it ourselves, she would then instruct us to lead the salat. And I was sharing this story with my wife, that of course my mother would do this in the absence of my father if he was working, etc. But she would put us up there, and if we, play around with our hands while we're calling the iqamah or something like that, she would make us do it again. She would say, no, put your hands to your sides, mashallah. So these are the sort of things that, I remember growing up in terms of instilling Islamic morals, instilling the prayer in us, my mother making us do it in the absence of my father, etc., etc. And then demonstrating and expecting ihsan. Ihsan, like spiritual excellence, being a good person, being a moral person, being an upright Muslim. These are all the things that, it's a little bit harder. It's a little bit harder. You can't just tell your kids these things sometimes. You have to demonstrate it. You have to demonstrate the salah as well. But people are always telling us that children watch everything that you do. Children watch every single thing that you do. And my daughter, alhamdulillah, she's 9 months. And just a couple days ago, she repeated us for the first time something that we said. And she could do it on her own at any time, but this is like the first time she actually, as soon as we said something, she said it back. MashaAllah. And it's just really, even from that young, none of us can remember being 9 months old. We're repeating what we see. Even from that age, we're repeating what we see. So what about a 5-year-old? What about a 10-year-old? What about an adolescent? What about someone who's entering the realm of maturity? They're looking for someone to emulate. They're looking at your parents. Can I follow what my parents are doing? Can I follow what my older siblings are doing? Can I follow what the kids at school are doing? Being out with my father, being out with my mother, I'm sure all of my siblings can say the same thing, is you just witness certain things that they would do. You know what I mean? Being in the home, of course, also. But, being out, see a homeless person, they give them charity. And there wouldn't even be any commentary. MashaAllah. They wouldn't even say anything to you. They wouldn't say, this is what you have to do when you see someone poor. MashaAllah. No, they would just stop the car for a second, give somebody something, get back in the car, and then you'll hear them say, alhamdulillah, to themselves. This is what we mean when we say, alhamdulillah, like expecting and demonstrating ihsan. This is what we're talking about. These are not the things that you're going to find, you know, in some documentary somewhere or written in a book necessarily. These are the things day-to-day life that make a person realize this is what I need to be doing also. And also there was always that expectation of ihsan when we got older. As we got older, you know, it was definitely more verbal. Alhamdulillah. Whenever you did something incorrect, there was a correction there, mashallah. You know, so it's definitely that idea of being corrected and being shown what the best thing to do is. I mean, I can remember being a kid, and perhaps we all can. You know, many of us, you fall asleep in one place as a kid, and you wake up in your bed. And you didn't sleepwalk, you know what I mean? That was one of your parents. That was one of your guardians. That was someone else who cared for you while you weren't even conscious of what was going on. And I just, you know, I can recall so many times, you know, getting up for a Fajr prayer in the morning, and my dad still got his work uniform on because he came home and stayed up and waited so he could get everybody else up. You know what I mean? Like, these are the things that, you know, alhamdulillah, I don't want to make him cry or anything. I know he's here, alhamdulillah. But these are the things that we have to be careful of, you know, is our example. What example are we setting? And those are really the main things I wanted to address in terms of like gifting Islam to our children, but also children. Sometimes, even as young adult children, we have to gift Islam back to our parents. Maybe many of us, our parents aren't Muslim. Maybe some of us, our grandparents aren't Muslim. Our aunts and uncles, our cousins, some of the people we used to hang out with. So gifting Islam, giving Islam to someone, showing someone Islam, demonstrating it for them is not simply from parents to children. This isn't for parents to come and lecture children, alhamdulillah. So, in order to demonstrate ihsan, in order to demonstrate ihsan and to instill Islam and to teach iman to our children, and for us as children and youth to do it to the older generation, to our relatives and our friends who aren't Muslim, we have to be good people first. We have to be good people first. We can't simply want to recite something to someone every time we see them. We can't say, oh, I'm either not practicing Islam at all, or I'm running around with a turban or niqab on, and every word out of my mouth is in Arabic. It doesn't have to be either or. We have to find a place where we can be balanced and express our Islam to the people around us. And that's really what the relationship between parents and children is about. It's about gifting and sharing Islam between each other, not just from parents to children again, but from children to parents as well. And I think that oftentimes we have that problem. Some of us, we get older, we start taking Islam perhaps more seriously than we did before. We start learning things that we didn't know before, or maybe that we didn't pay attention to before. And then we want to go lecture our parents, lecture our elders, lecture all of the people in the community about what we now know. So it's highly important for us to recognize we're just stepping into this thing. And in their humility, our elders will tell them the same thing. They're still learning. They'll tell us the same thing. So this entire process is about you trying to be a better person so that you can share what you're getting through your actions, through demonstrating your perfection that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can help you with. So parents must be good individual people in and of themselves in order to be good parents, seeking Allah's pleasure. In doing so, a person must treat their children well, the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordered. So what I mean by this is, if we want to do what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordered, it includes being good to your children. It includes being good to your parents. You can't go back and start calling your kafir mother, my mother's a misbeliever, my father's a disbeliever. I don't care nothing about them. I ain't making dua for them. A lot of people run away from Islam. They'll never consider Islam because of what you say to them. That's why we have to be very careful. Very careful with what we let off of our tongues. And we should focus more on demonstrating in our actions our belief in Allah. Demonstrating our actions and our responsibility to pray. Our responsibility to stay away from haram things like alcohol, etc. And then of course demonstrating our ihsan. Like Ibn Ali said, ask people, what do you need? Can I help you with anything? And when you go to school, I understand, all this stuff is corny. Everything we're probably talking about today is corny when you sit around your peers. And I know that. Trust me, I know that. Everything that we're talking about right now, all this stuff is all corny. You probably won't even want to tell nobody about. But this is the stuff that saves people's lives. This is the stuff that, really gets people out of trouble. Is coming to their religion. and realizing what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put them there for. So as corny as you may think it is, really take it seriously. Listen to what people are telling you. That's a very important thing. You don't have to agree with everybody with what they say, but try to learn how to listen to people, inshallah. Because you never know where that good advice, that beneficial advice is going to come from. So we should try to be better individuals, inshallah, and we should try to provide our children with everything they need to be better than us. Better Muslims than us, more comfortable financially than us, more adept at navigating the dunya than us. We have to be focused on doing those things. We have to be focused on giving them more. And if we feel like our parents haven't given us enough, well, why am I struggling with trying to avoid this and start praying more? Why are my parents now putting that pressure on me? We hear about stories where, mashallah, none of us are perfect, alhamdulillah, but we hear about stories of people trying to enforce hijab on their daughters, at the age of like 16, 17. These are things that we have to be raising our children to do. But as children, we can't be upset with our parents. We have to be merciful. And that's my final point, inshallah, in trying to put all this together. As children, we have to be patient and respectful to our elders and our parents, and trying to understand what it is that they want us to know from their experiences. And also as parents, we have to be patient with letting our children, allowing our children, our youth, to go through their own experiences and figure things out on their own and get to that point of realization for themselves. We can't shove anything down anybody's throat. We have to be patient with each other. And I'm sure Ibn Ali is ready to kick me off the podium, alhamdulillah. So, alhamdulillah. So really just, to get off my note page and just give some advice, alhamdulillah, we really just have to be patient. As adults, as parents, as the new generation of people who are having kids year after year, we have to be more committed to our Islam. We have to be more committed to our communities. But first, we have to be more committed to ourselves. What is it that we want for ourselves? And that whatever you want for yourself, want more for your children, inshallah. And if you're a child of someone who is not practicing Islam, or who doesn't understand Islam the way you understand Islam, or you feel like your parents could have given you more growing up, be patient with them. Show them what you're learning. And inshallah, they will adopt it as well. But at the same time, we need to be prepared, because when we start having children, they may look at us the same way. Well, how come you didn't teach me all this? How come you didn't let me be a hafiz when I grew up? MashaAllah. So that's all I have to say. I'll stop rambling on. وصلى الله على سيدنا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Up next we have Brother Umar Shannon, who went to AC High, graduated 2009. He played some pro ball overseas, and he spent some time here. And before he speaks, I just want to mention real quick about Idris and the Hamida laws, and the importance of raising good children, and how that spreads and how it reaches people. Because I was married 5 years ago, mashallah. And my wife, she wasn't born as a Muslim and wasn't raised as a Muslim. She took Shahada when she was 20 years old. And but she had fallen in love with Islam a long time before this. Even before meeting me, she was in love with Islam, but just nobody to show her and really teach her what this thing really was that she had come to like the customs of and the examples of and how the people acted, But her very first encounter with Islam, she was in the 4th or 5th grade, and Jibril, Idris' older brother. I don't know if he's like number 5 or number 6, but yeah. So Jibril, they went to a school together in Pleasantville, and there were a lot of young Muslims that went to the school in Pleasantville at this particular time. And he used to always put on the top of his papers, Bismillah, always, And so my wife, she was in his class, and she said, you know what? One day I said, I'm gonna ask him, what does that mean? And then he used to write it in English and he used to write it in Arabic. He used to write the crescent with the star. And so she asked him, what does it mean? And then he said, it means Bismillah. It means in the name of Allah. So anything I do, before I do it, I say Bismillah. But these are kids, so think about it though. These are kids, 10, 11 years old. And from that, my wife said, sometimes I call myself saying Bismillah, So just how teaching your children the right thing in the house, you don't know where they're taking it. Because what he told his family in his house, we're talking years ago now, all of us are in our 20s, and his son late 20s now. And now she's teaching her children Bismillah, So, mashallah, may Allah reward you and your family and your parents. Ameen.